Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am here today to choose / reveal my April TBR. So I mentioned at the beginning of this year that I wanted to do not just the TBR jar every single month. I still love the TBR jar, I'm still doing it like pretty much every other month. But I wanted to mix in a few different ways of choosing my TBR, and a way that I really enjoyed using last year was letting my Instagram followers choose. So that's what I did. If you've not seen this kind of video before, loads and loads of people have done it, definitely not my idea. I just paired books together, chose some books that I'm interested in reading, put them in pairs, put them on my Instagram story, and let my followers vote on what I should read. So without further ado, let's go through the pairs that I chose and the winners, and therefore what my TBR is going to be for April. So because I'm trying to get my Kindle TBR down this year, I still have over 100 unread books that I own on my Kindle, not including KU. I did 2 pairs of Kindle books, so 4 Kindle books to choose from, and then the rest are physical. So we'll start with the Kindle ones that I don't have physical copies of, and then we'll move on to the physical books. So the first pair that I put up, on the left was the little wedding bride emoji with a champagne bottle, a bottle of some sort of alcohol, and then the one on the right was a building and a clock. And these 2 books were, the one on the left was the wedding people, I thought wedding, bride, and then on the cover there is a very similar looking bottle, so I just went with that. And then the one on the right is the Ministry of Time. So for the building I tried to go for like an official looking building, and then a clock for time. The wedding people is about our main character Phoebe, which is weird because that's my name, so I'm gonna feel reading a book about like me. Obviously it's not me, but you know what I mean. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. But it's about Phoebe, and she intends, trigger warning, at the beginning of this book to end her own life. And she goes to this hotel, which I believe is, I don't know if she plans to do it around there or if this is like just one last kind of trip. I'm not sure exactly what the circumstances are. But she goes to this hotel, and it turns out she's the only person there at this particular time that isn't part of the wedding party. But I believe she meets the bride and ends up, I think at first they're like not getting on. I think the bride's like very stressed about the wedding. She's like, what are you doing here? Who are you? But then I think they strike like an unlikely friendship. And then I think the Ministry of Time is about like a imaginary magical department, like a government department, and they like help people travel through time or something like that. So I thought both of those books sounded very interesting. I paired them together just because they're more like literary vibes rather than like fantasy or romance. And the winner with 86% of the vote was The Wedding People. So that is the first book that we are putting on our April TBR. I am excited. I have wanted to read this book for a while. As I said, I own it on Kindle, and I noticed that my library also has the audiobook and it doesn't seem to have any wait time. That would be nice to kind of flip between reading it on Kindle and listening to some potentially on audio too. But yeah, book number 1 on our April TBR is The Wedding People. And then the second pair, sorry about the lighting, the sun is going in and out. It's just that time of year. I mean, it's always that time of year in England where there's a lot of clouds and the sun keeps going behind a cloud and coming back out, so I'm sorry that the lighting keeps changing. But the second pair that I don't own, I, on the left hand side, went with the kissy lips emoji and the sky, and then on the right the number 7 and a sun. So the book on the left is literally called Kissing the Sky, so the emojis weren't very imaginative on my part for that one. This is a book, I don't know loads about it, but I think it's either set in the 1960s, focusing around like the music scene, or it isn't set in the 60s but it is focused on music from the 60s. Either way, the focal point of the book is like music and musicians and people from the 1960s. I really love Daisy Jones and the Six, and I've read a couple of other like similar books that I've quite enjoyed. So this kind of, I'm not expecting it to be like Daisy Jones and the Six level, but it does sound like a similar vein kind of to that book. And then on the right is a book I've been wanting to read for so long, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This, I believe, is a book about 2 exes, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, they are writing books about the other one but kind of refusing to admit it. That sounds so interesting to me, that concept, and I've heard just incredible things about that book, so I've been excited to read it for a really long time. And the winner of that one, if I can find it, with 57% was actually Kissing the Sky. Maybe it's because the emojis I chose were just like not great. I think if people knew that it was 7 Days in June, they probably would have picked that. But either way, I'm very excited. I will read 7 Days in June at some point anyway. So I'm kind of glad that Kissing the Sky won, because that's one that I've not heard anything about. It's not like at the top of my radar. So I'm glad that I've got a little push to read it, because I think I probably will like that one. So that is pair number 2, and the second book on our TBR is Kiss in the Sky by Lisa Patton, I believe. I really need to have the covers where I can see them when I'm saying this. Yes, Lisa Patton. And then we are now moving on to the books that I actually do own physical copies of. So the first one of those is this pairing. So on the left hand side I did the girl with like a bouquet of flowers, and then on the right hand side a skyline and like a little ball thing, like a crystal ball, kind of a magical looking ball. The one on the left is The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is, I believe, the same author as Mexican Gothic. I haven't read that book but heard a lot about it. But when I looked at the synopsis, this one just sounded a bit more interesting to me. It's kind of like literary fiction, but I think with a, like, it's not dystopia, but it's got those elements of like, I don't know, maybe it is, but I don't think it is. I think it's more, oh wait, no, maybe it is. I didn't realise there are like powers. There's like a telekinetic. There's a character in here with telekinesis. Kinetic. I don't know how to say that word. There's someone in here that can read minds. So maybe it is more like fantastical than I realised. Anyway, basically this book is about a society where there are beautiful ones. And they are, I assume, seen as like the upper echelons of society. And I assume anyone that's not the beautiful ones are probably oppressed. I think this also has like a... I don't want to compare everything Regency to Bridgerton. But I think it has an ever so slight air of that to it as well, so that sounded really interesting to me. So that was the first book in this pairing. The other one, literally nothing like it, I just didn't know which other books to pair these with, is The Diviners by Libba Bray. I don't know much about this other than it's set in New York. Is it like paranormal, fantasy-ish? I honestly am not 100% sure. It's a YA fantasy that is set in New York. And the winner out of these two, she says when she doesn't actually know what the winner is, the winner out of these two with 71% was The Diviners. I have been meaning to read this for a really long time, so I'm kind of glad. This one sounds more interesting, so I am more likely to pick this up like of my own volition, so I am kind of glad that The Diviners one. So that is book number 3 on our TBR. My camera battery's flashing despite the fact that I've just charged it, so we might have to speed up a little bit here. The next pairing, where am I? Here we go. The next pairing is 2 romance books. So on the left hand side, a baseball and a heart. I thought that wouldn't be obvious and I thought people would choose it. And then the one on the right is a monster, because I think that this is a monster romance, and a key. So the one on the left, as you may be able to predict, is In Her Own League by Liz Donford. This is a romance between a baseball coach and the owner of the baseball team. So Reese, who is our FMC, starts working as the owner of the team. She takes over from her granddad, and then what is his name? I forget. Is it like Tate? No, it's Emmett. Emmett is the coach. We've met Emmett before in the Windy City series. This is a spin-off, so it's not in the series, but I think we will probably see a lot of the characters. This is the baseball team that Kai and Isaiah were both on, and Emmett was their coach. So I think this one will be really interesting. I think, is it a little bit of an age gap? I can't remember if it's age gap, but it's like a boss employee forbidden kind of romance. But I think it's nice that they're both adults. I think sometimes that doesn't work for me because I don't like power imbalances in my romances, but I think here it will work just because they are like actual grown-ups. It's not like someone just starting their career in their early 20s getting with their 55-year-old boss. I think it's going to be a bit of a different dynamic. So that was book number 1. And then the other one is Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson. So this is something to do with the Loch Ness Monster, hence the monster, and then key because it says key in the title. That's it. They didn't have a Loch Ness Monster on the emoji selection, so I went with a random monster. I understand it doesn't look like the Loch Ness Monster, but it was the best I could do. And the winner out of these two with 71% was Under Lock and Key, which I'm so surprised about. Not mad about, really wanted to read this soon anyway. Will I probably read this month as well? Yeah. As soon as I've finished the books from this TBR, this will be the first mood read I will probably pick up. So I'll probably end up reading both of these, but I am really glad to have a push to read this one. I've not owned it for too long, but I don't want to like lay it rot on the TBR cart. So very excited to get to this one. And then our last pairing is another 2 romance books. I was in a bit of a romance mood when I chose this TBR. I also just have a lot of romance on my physical TBR at the minute. So the one on the left is A Couple and then A Broken Heart, because I think this is quite an emotional, sad romance. I don't think the romance is the sad bit, but I think there's a lot of elements in this book that are sad. So I did the broken heart emoji, it was the best I could think of. And then on the right is a book and a handshake. So the book on the left is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I've loved every book that I have read by Abby Jimenez. I think I've given them all at least 4.5 stars. So was very keen to get this one on the TBR. I can't believe I haven't read it yet. This came out like last year, was it? Maybe even the year before at this point, but I think it was last year. Either way, this has been out for quite a while, and yeah, last year. And I can't believe I haven't read it yet. So that's book number 1 of this pairing. And then the other one is Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino, which I think has a very similar concept to 7 Days in June. I think this is also about 2 exes that write books about each other. Maybe I've got that wrong and like one of these 2 books isn't about this. I also didn't want to pair them together. I don't know, that just felt like putting the same book. I don't know, maybe that would have made more sense. Either way, I think that's what this book is about, but I'm expecting the vibes and the tone and the writing probably to be quite different. I have read a Renee Carlino book before, and I've never read by Tia Williams, but just what I've heard, I'm expecting the writing styles to be a bit different. So maybe it's not the best idea to read them both in the same month, but I don't know, maybe I'll do it anyway. Which one won? Okay, the winner with 67% is Say You'll Remember Me. So maybe I'll read either this or 7 Days in June as like once I finish the TBR this month, and then read the other one a different month, so I'm not reading them back to back. So it's probably kind of good that neither of them won. But yeah, the winner and the 5th book on our TBR is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And that is it for this video. I do like to keep my TBR videos quite quick and snappy. There are other books on my radar, but I don't put those in my TBR videos because they might change by the time the next month starts anyway. I like to mood read, other than having like 5-6 books that I'm keen to get to. After that, I just kind of like to mood read. So yeah, that is it. That is our TBR for April. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up down below if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!